So Himmler uses terrorist tactics and murder in the concentration camps to keep people in a line. So even if you were part of the Aryan race, it wouldn't be odd for them to come and disturb you. So churches and education is going to be brought under the government's influence, the government's control. So at the churches and at schools, they teach about the Nazi Party, they teach about the Aryan race. It is basically brainwashing. And it's brainwashing the youth into believing and dying for this new cause, the Nazi Party. So Nazi organizations like Hitler's Youth and the League of German Maidens is going to be established. And the League of German Maidens is the group of women who are to be perfect mothers and perfect wives, and they're to produce the master Aryan race children. So, the slogan is, "Get hold of pots and pans and brooms, and you'll sooner find a groom." And it's about making Aryan women marry and have kids. And Hitler does do like breeding farms with the women who are a perfect Aryan, like blood, whatever degree was that he considered, and the same thing with men. And so women will basically breed children who are this Aryan race. And it's really sad because the kids after World War II is over, they're called Hitler's lost youth. Um, they can't help that they were born to these people, but they kind of like get thrown out of society. They're like left in orphanages. Nobody wants them. And they kind of have a messed up, childhood, and they have a messed up adulthood years because the German people don't even want to recognize them because you're remembering this horrible time, and the world doesn't want them because why would you want something that was bred, something that was created from that? So they have a really sorry life afterwards. The Nuremberg laws are going to be September 1935, and this is going to exclude Jews from German citizenship, and it's going to forbid extramarital relationships between Jews and Germans. And this is stressing Hitler's Aryan race. So you can't marry a Jew, and you can't have any relationship with a Jew if you're a part of this Aryan race. The Night of the Scattered Glass. Okay, this is going to basically be November 9th through the 10th in 1939. And this is when the Nazis are going to lead a rampage against all Jewish businesses. And so they start breaking up the glasses of the businesses, the business fronts. Hundreds of Jews are going to be killed. Thousands are going to be then sent to the concentration camp. And the SS under Himmler are going to order the Jews to immigrate from Germany. So they're going to be putting them in ghettos, concentration camps. Like, ghettos are these little areas, these little neighborhoods before you go to the concentration camps. It's like a waiting ground before you get to the concentration camps. And most countries had immigration quotas, and so a lot of countries aren't going to accept the Jews. Like, there are Jews who will try to come to the United States, but the United States will not allow the Jewish people to come in. They'll actually order them to go back to Nazi Germany. And they end up dying, and Britain will do the same thing. A lot of countries are not accepting Jewish immigrants from Germany because these countries do not also like Jews. So there's a huge anti-Semitic feeling throughout the world, and the U.S. is also a part of this. The German secretary in Paris was assassinated, and this is exactly why the night of the shattered glass is gonna happen. And this is the German or the Nazi Party's reasoning behind actually going through these Jewish businesses and breaking up all their goods and all their wares and killing them, and then sending them out, or forcibly sending them out of Germany. But they don't really have anywhere to go. And that's going to kind of fuel the Zionist movement after World War II is over. There will be Jewish people who will believe that the only way they're ever going to be safe is if they have their own country. So the Stalinist era in the Soviet Union. When Stalin comes into power, he wants to bring the Soviet Union from an agrarian, an agricultural society to an industrial society. And so he does it. I mean, how he does it is very cruel, but he is going to bring them into an industrial age, still. So first, the 5-year plan in 1928 is to transform the Soviet Union into an industrial society. The emphasis is going to be upon steel, heavy machinery, and oil rather than consumer goods. So it's about factories, building up your factories. Stalin is going to do a collectivization of agriculture. What that just means is collecting farms, collective farms. And so by 1934, 26 million private farms are going to be collectivized. They're going to be in a collective unit, and the 250,000 units. Millions of people die because Stalin willfully starves the population. There's no private property in this communist Soviet Union, and so he's going to starve the people to get it accomplished, especially in the Ukraine area. So the Ukraine is in the Eastern European area, and Stalin, just like Hitler, just like all these other people, they believe that their race is the right race, the master race, this nationalism. And so he's not going to care that he kills all these Ukrainians because he doesn't even care when he kills his own people. So Stalin will allow people to starve to basically get the Soviet Union from an agrarian, an agriculture society to this industrialization, because he puts all his energy into industrialization. There's not enough people farming, there's not enough land for the farm, and so the people of the Soviet Union starve. It's going to allow them, he does allow them to own a tiny garden in their yard. And that's not going to produce enough food for people, but he allows them to have a little garden. So Stalin is going to purge the old Bolshevik party, and he's going to get rid of any Bolshevik that was loyal to Lenin, and he does some show trials. So he has trials, with quotations around it, but basically you don't really have a fair trial because you're going to be found guilty. And any that resist are going to go to the labor camps in Siberia, and that's where you're going to be worked to the human capacity that your body can do, and then you are dead. So he will give you the least amount of food possible, and he will make you work building the transcontinental railroad for the Soviet Union. So they build the railroad, the Trans-Siberian Railroad. Abortion is going to be outlawed and divorce is going to be restricted. And the biggest reason why abortion is going to be outlawed and divorce is going to get restricted is because the birth rate is on the decline. And if you want to populate the world with little Soviets, you need people to have kids. So he'll outlaw abortion. And then divorce is going to be limited. So next we look at the rise in militarism in Japan due to the growing influence of militant political forces. Militarism, if you look at it, it's the belief in a military, and this is actually a belief in a military when there's not really a war going on. It's stockpiling of weapons. When you look at the rise of militarism, it's like out of fear, and you normally have an arms race because of it. So there's weak political parties, and food prices are on the increase. There's a depression around the world, and that's hurting the Japanese exports because the Japanese have been exporting goods, and there's going to be assassinations like everywhere, and assassinations everywhere is going to force, in this depression, is going to force the Japanese government to abandon the gold standard to try and help stabilize the economy. Then you're going to get a group that's going to call for Asia for Asians. And what this means is if you're not Asian, you need to get the heck out of the Eastern zone. You need to get out of the Pacific zone for Japan. So they want Asians to control and run Asian countries from now on. So there's going to be a call for this. It had little support during the prosperous years. So during the 1920s, people were like, this is crazy. But then during the 1930s, when the economy sucks, they're like, hey, that Asian for Asian thing is the right way. That's the way we need to go. Because people start to get more extreme when the economy sucks. So the more your economy does this downward spiral, you're going to see people latching on to more extremist viewpoints. And typically, nationalistic, racist viewpoints, because Asia for Asians is kind of racist. Not kind of, it is. So, if you're a white person, if you're a black person, if you're, European, you just happen to be living there, you need to get the heck out. When people start saying these kind of comments, you should flee the country. Because it's never good if you're not a part of the in-group. And it's really not good anyway when you're in the in-group because you have to go along with the policies or else. So extreme nationalism and military fractions are going to start to be growing and to gain more influence, and you're starting to see Japan getting a little, hopped up on, taking over the world. So the path to war. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you guys. So the path to war in Europe, Hitler had stated in Mein Kampf that he wanted German living space. And so he wants space to the east at the expense of Russia. And of course Stalin's not going to be happy about that. And so Germany feels the need to expand, and they want to expand east. And this is where we get the fascism versus communism duel. So Hitler hates Stalin, Stalin hates Hitler, but yet these two crazy guys will eventually make an alliance called the Non-Aggression Pact, or the Soviet Nazi Pact. So even though they don't like each other, they will agree to not like each other, but go ahead and work together for mutual goals to take over Poland. So when you look at the diplomatic revolution, they're going to they're going to throw out the Treaty of Versailles because nobody liked it anyway. The only people that liked the Treaty of Versailles were the people who won, Britain and France. And the US liked it, but we didn't like it enough to sign it or to join the League at all. How strong is the Treaty of Versailles? It's only as strong as the nations who are willing to enforce it. So Hitler poses as a man of peace. He stated he wanted to simply revise the Treaty of Versailles. France really doesn't like that because they're immediately to the west of Germany. And France had a demilitarized zone, and they had treaties with Czechoslovakia and Poland. And the treaties with Czechoslovakia and Poland, which are to the east of Germany, these are about protection. And France has promised that they would protect Czechoslovakia and Poland from a German attack. And so when Hitler wants to revise the treaty and he's talking about expanding east, he's talking about expanding in the Czechoslovakia and Poland. March 1935, Hitler announced that Germany had rearmed in spite of the Treaty of Versailles. The treaty said that Germany was not allowed to rearm. He does it anyway. He's got an air force. He's got a draft. And Italy, Britain, and France are going to condemn this. Even though Mussolini and Hitler are going to become buddies, Italy is going to condemn it. That was wrong because it does break the treaty. And Britain and France are really going to condemn it because 1935, he's got the jump start. He's been rebuilding since 1933. He's got 2 years where he's been doing it in a very secret manner. And so he's got a head start on Britain and France. And Britain and France don't have enough money to actually be building up their military. They still have like a World War I military. And Hitler's making a modern military. So they're a little bit behind the times. March 1936, Germany is going to take the demilitarized zone of the Rhineland. And the Rhineland is the land in between Germany and France. So he takes it. The reason why he takes it is that there's ore, there's metal stuff there, metal resources, and he wants that because he wants to build, planes, tanks, airplanes. So France can't act. They don't want to act. They don't want to have some sort of reaction without Britain's help. And Britain doesn't want to help the Rhineland because, in their opinion, in the British opinion, it was German land because it was before World War I. And so they just kind of feel like, well, it was German property. So he's just taking back what was originally theirs. And France doesn't want to try and fight Germany or try and do anything to Germany because Britain's not going to help them. And so France does nothing, Britain does nothing. So Hitler's learning a lesson here, and the lesson is he can do whatever he wants. In October 1935, Mussolini is going to invade Ethiopia. Ethiopia is in Africa, and Ethiopia has a lot of gold, so that's a good reason why Mussolini's interested in it. And Hitler and Mussolini are becoming allies now. And Mussolini needed this because now he has angered Britain and France with him taking Ethiopia. Because Britain and France, remember, are kind of like dominant forces in Africa. And thanks to that Berlin conference where you have the scramble for Africa, you have, of course, Germany is the one that does that. You kind of have Britain and France dominating everything. And so now they're upset. And so Mussolini seeks an alliance, and he seeks an alliance with Adolf Hitler, who is also making Britain and France a little worried. October 1936, the Rome-Berlin axis is going to be formed. So this is going to be between Italy and Germany. Rome, Italy, Berlin, Germany. So Hitler and Mussolini have made an alliance now. November 1937, the Anti-Comintern Pact against the Soviets by Germany and Japan. So now Germany and Japan are making an alliance. Spanish Civil War is during this time period, and Mussolini